Hello, this is Everett Pierce, and it is November the 4th, 2016. And it is about 11 p.m. Arizona time. The topic we're going to talk about is this illegal immigrants, and sanctuary cities. And this thing that's going on in San Francisco, where a young girl was killed in the process of that. So, and Donald Trump has mentioned about this. Now we have, if we have any kind of academic, is that we have a lot of people coming into our nation illegally. Okay, now of these people illegally come into our country, okay, some of these illegals are criminals as well. Not saying that all people that come across the border are criminals. Now, being that I've spent nearly 7 years of research behind prison walls, it wasn't for the fact that I was taking sides of the inmate, the criminal, or the justice system. I had to analyze the functionality of things to understand how the criminal works, how our justice system works, and the prison system. So by putting that expertise in towards illegal that's going on in the news is, well, first of all, the first thing that we need to address, and Donald Trump had already mentioned it, is we got to get rid of those who are here illegally and they're already engaged into criminal activity. Okay, because as a government, our government, like we're a state, okay, the state and the state officials are responsible for the people within the state. The federal government is responsible for its people, and that's the 50 states. Okay, now they've been mentioning about the sanctuary cities and basically getting federal money. Now, it's quite simple. Now, if I was the president and I still have to give my states choices, okay, as a president, I'm keeping in mind at all times, I have about 230, give or take, million Americans that I have the safety to look forward to. I have to keep people, if not all people, safe. Okay, so if we got a county in San Francisco, I don't know what the population, but we'll just say there's a population of 3 million. So I got 3 million or 227 million people to protect. I'm going to protect the 227 million Americans. Okay, first of all, we have to address why do we have so many illegals coming over into America and they're not following our established guidelines and structures of coming to America and being legal, being legalized. Okay, there's a reason for that. It's like if you have, you have a boat and they can only accommodate, say, 50 people and 100 people at max. Meaning if you could put 101 in there, that boat, the water line's going to go up above the edge and it's going to take on water and then everyone's going to sink. And that's essentially what we have to keep in mind as what a president should do is we have to protect the people and we have to find out why are our borders, why is it people just fleeing in? Because one thing I've learned in prison is, and I'm not taking sides, is an inmate or a criminal is always going to find, he's very creative. Never underestimate a criminal because they're very, very intelligent individuals. But they will find a loophole. They will find a way to circumvent it. Okay, but one of the things that you don't dare do is give them an open door policy. It'd be like, it's like you have a store. You don't have any cameras, and there's only one person at the register, and so essentially there's no one to monitor if people are shoplifting. So if that criminal comes in and says, wow, I just stole $100 of my stuff, he's going to come in and again and again and again, because there's nothing there to stop him. There's nothing there that's going to keep him from doing it again. And he's looking at, well, it's only that cashier and she's behind the desk and it looks like she could hardly pick up a pencil, let alone to grab a hold of me to stop me. Okay, so you can't have an open barn system. Now, how I would do it is, I know Trump had suggested about penalizing them with the money and the funds that federal government gives them. See, our main focus is the safety of other people. And I'll tell you the reason why. It goes beyond illegal Mexicans coming into our country. And when I explain this to you, you're going to say, holy shit. Yeah, if you don't want your children to listen, this probably be the time to turn it off, because I'm a man of communications and I use particular words. So, so we have to address that. But what we were going to address right now is those criminals. If we don't want criminals who are American citizens in our society because they're causing havoc and we put them in jail, why would we want illegal immigrants here creating crimes and keep them here? So when they do not, communications, one thing we've learned in the early part of warfare is if you knock out their communications, you disabilitate them. It's like a paralyzed person. It's like a person in a wheelchair. They're compromised in many ways. So this guy, it's on the news, I'm trying to think of her name, Kate Steino. Okay, she was murdered. Well, this illegal immigrant, I guess, had been caught many times and committed some crimes. I don't know the specifics of it, but from what I've gathered is he's done this habitually many times over. And then with this right here, killing this Kate girl, that's gross neglect. Now, how I would approach it as a president, it says, okay, I'm going to give you your democracy. You're going to have choices. So that's why we have chain of command. That's why we got president and vice president and the speaker of the house and so on and so on and so on. So everyone is held accountable and is looking out for everyone. Everyone's watching each one's back for self-preservation, for safety, and for many other reasons. Okay, so if, say, for example, San Francisco says, blankly says, fuck you, government, fuck you, Trump, because they're still ill feeling that Trump is now the president. Well, I wouldn't take, if they were saying that to me, I wouldn't take that in my problem-solving aspect, because people are going to say things. That's part of the presidential position, is people are going to love you, people are going to hate you, people are going to want to kill you. That's why you have Secret Service. Okay, so San Francisco would have a choice. Okay, so it's either you open line the communication with us so we can keep Americans safe. Because if he gets into California, he can easily get in a car and travel to other states. And if other states don't know about him and he's already committed crimes, who says he's not going to commit more crimes? First of all, he's already committed a crime in a sense. He's here illegally. He's not following by the rules. And that is associated with criminals. Okay, so now just because someone doesn't follow by the rules doesn't mean they automatically go out and kill people and rape people, the nastier things. Okay, not saying the nastier are worse than the smaller stuff, but because they're all cause a problem. Okay, so I would give them the choice. Now, I have the sanction of money. I suppose I could use a leverage. But I would treat it like how we treat people in the justice system already. And even Bush has said, either you're for us or against us. Meaning that if you're not going through the protocols and you're putting American people in jeopardy, basically you're aiding and abetting a known criminal. If he goes out and kill someone, we're going to hold him accountable for murder. And we're going to indict you for being aiding and abetting a known criminal. So if you're the governor or a senator or whatever, and you tell your other officials, now let's not include the federal government on this, we'll just let him go, and he kills someone. Not only am I going to get the individual that murdered our American citizen, but if it was a senator or governor that put out that to other officials, that this is the way we are going to do it, then everyone, especially the head guy, that's why we have governors and senators. If nothing else, the person in that region would also be part of the indictment, and they will be charged with accessory to murder. So, I mean, it's two choices. It's either you open up the line of communication so we can protect all Americans, and that's our main focus, is illegal people here who are committing crimes against Americans. So if we do nothing to them, essentially what we're doing, we're committing a crime against Americans who have not committed a crime and who follow the rules. So that's what you got to look at. If you're not punishing the one you're automatically punishing these people over here. And that's not fair. It's about fairness. So I would say to San Francisco, if you want to take that position, you have that right. But me as of the government, a president, and I have to look out after my people, means of the 50 states, and then the people within the 50 states, is I'm going to indict him for murder, and I'm also going to indict you for allowing and that to happen. It's like this guy, he had been caught and released so many times. It's like, how many times do you have to catch someone and release them, and they have criminal activity for you to figure, say, wait a minute, what else is he going to do? What else has he done that you haven't even caught him for? Okay, so basically it's to bring a fairness to the playing field. One thing I do know when it comes to criminals is you cannot have the barn door wide open. If he's going to get in the barn, he's going to find a way to get in. But you don't want the barn door completely open. Because what ends up happening, he ends up killing a lot of people. A lot of dismay out there. Then we got a major problem. Okay, now here's the bigger problem out of this whole thing. Is a lot of people haven't mentioned this. Is ISIS. There's many groups out there that wants to kill Americans. I mean, they truly do. And when they hear this on the news, and your enemy's going to find out what all your weaknesses are. And we got a lot of people that are new recruits to the ISIS people. All it takes is just one or two people that looks like a Mexican, can pass off like a Mexican, and they equip them, take them down to Mexico with weapons of mass destruction. They come across the border, they come up to California, and then they infiltrate throughout our other states. And then they organize, we don't even know about because local states and local governments are not communicating with our federal government. And before we have not just one terrorist attack. It'll be like several of them. That's what's yet in the field of energy. It's many of them happening all at once. And it could be all in one city, in different parts of the city, which basically puts it to their advantage because it will deplete the police force, ambulance, and all other services. Because they can't be all here and all over here at the same time. And see, I know warfare. I know warfare better than anyone, two-legged person walking on this planet. So what ends up is going to happen is ISIS is going to say, wait a minute, we got a couple of people that could pass off for Mexicans. And have you ever seen the video on YouTube where it was a couple of these Mexicans that climbed this wall, had backpacks which looks like marijuana? Okay, now what if that wasn't marijuana? What if that was C4 on their backpack? The size like this, a C4. Well, a little C4 like this can be devastation. Let alone something like this. And there was two guys. And if they had enough guys bringing enough of this mass destruction type stuff, whether it be AK-47s or whatever they're getting over, or explosives, and they fill a van up. So they can use the resources to get into the United States. So it goes beyond. It has nothing to do with being a Mexican at all. But when you got other religions, that's why Donald Trump has clarified radical Islamic terrorism. It means not to include the Muslims and the Islamic people who are not into that destructive type behavior. It doesn't include them. But see, Democrats wanted to make it as if Donald Trump was including all the people. And that's why it's got all the Muslims in the uproar. Donald Trump was very clear and very specific about his words, not to include those who are not about that nonsense. Okay, so all it's going to take is one or two guys coming across that border, passing off as a Mexican, and those son of a bitches have C4 or whatever else mass destruction type material. And what they're going to do, it won't be just one here, one there. They're going to find a city, and it's going to all go off all at once. And when you only got so many police and so many ambulances, they're going to have a heyday. And meaning, by the time that the armed forces are able to kick in to stop it, they've already done mass destruction. I mean, look at one guy. One guy with a machine gun can kill hundreds. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Within minutes, within a few minutes. It takes a couple minutes just for our military to get their boots on. Maybe not quite 2 minutes, but still, it takes time to travel there and to stop them. So they know this. I know this. And I would hope that our government knows this. When it comes to warfare, you have to expect everything. And that's our main concern, is that things are going to get across our border. That it's not going to kill people in the tens of people, and it's not going to kill people in the hundreds of people. It's going to kill people into the thousands of people. Now, granted, we have security and everything else, but when you think of a football game, 70,000, 40,000, I mean, tens of thousands of people there. So when you think of how many people get across that border, and we say one person comes across and they have a backpack this big and there's nothing but C4, and they keep packing up that van, and maybe it's not a van. They said, hell with it, we're not dealing with a van anymore, we're going to do a semi. And they have a semi-trailer full. It's like one big brick of C4. And I'm using an example. And all they have to do is park that something close enough, like we learned with Oklahoma bombing, and it can take down the whole building. And if they know how energy and repercussions and everything else, if they do it just right, they can level a football field and not have to be in it. You know, some basic understanding, especially like pool, ricocheting, repercussion, sound waves. So that is our concern. So with this sanction and illegal immigrants being here, we have to get rid of the ones that are already committing criminal crimes against Americans. Otherwise, we're just literally walking over to the Good Samaritan people who follow the law and slapping them in the face and say, you don't fucking matter. I mean, it pisses me off that people would even conceive that idea. So we have to do something. Now, as far as the other people here that are here illegally, and while that's a crime because that's out of the rules of things, but we can be a little more sympathetic. And then be more, the next is to focus on why are people flooding into our country. That's the second stage. And then the people are here, if we allow you to hear and keep families together, then you still have to go through the proceedings and the structures of applying for citizenship or green card or whatever, because we have to expect this from all people. It's called law and order. Donald Trump has said this already. You have to have an order of things. And what I have learned with 7 years of dedication, I didn't have to put myself in prison, but I did. I had to know all different perspectives of human behavior. And I don't take any particular side. The only side that I do take is called self-preservation. Safety. So not only do I want safety of you, I want safety of me, and I want to be able to look and experience 4 billion years in the future and not be dead or starting life all over again. So it's quite simple. I mean, as I was the president, I'm going to say, okay, since you want to go out of the norm of the protocols in the system that we have in place that works very well, then you're also taking on the responsibilities that if you let that individual go and we don't know about it and he kills a person, you are also going to be indicted for first-degree murder, second-degree, or whatever. So you have to be held accountable. That's why we have a system of things that going down is self-explanatory, actually. So that's why we have certain things in place. It's for the safety and self-preservation of man. It's not that we're trying to be inhumane, not putting an element of humanity in there, because we understand other countries that are, the countries are, I've been to Mexico. I've been to Tijuana. I know what it's like there. I don't even want to go there. But the thing is, so we can be understanding of those in countries there, but we also, we have loyalty. We have a contract in the sense of protecting those who have followed the rules and our American citizenship. That's our number one. Like I said before about your boat, at the very most, you can put 100, and that's pushing it, and you put 101 person in that boat now sinks. And that's one of the things that we have to keep in mind is, and I hate to say this, but if San Francisco was to be that much of a rebel and say there's 3 million people there, then we have to implement something that is, no president should have to do, but is willing to do it if it's necessary. Meaning you have to sacrifice 3 million people to save 227 million other Americans. So it's about working together and using a system that is established as being effective. And if you want to deviate, you want to get in your emotions, and this is how we're going to do things, and you're not looking at the bigger picture, then we have to handle it much differently. And that's why a lot of things that the president does, you're not going to like them. You're going to love him, you're going to hate him. That's why it's actually a blessing and a curse. It's more of a curse than anything. I've been a president in my previous life, Abraham Lincoln. And I'm not here to prove, but I know what it's like to be in and be a president of the United States. I know what takes and sacrifice and dedication that goes into being a president. And that's exactly what I would do for San Francisco. I would say you have the choice. Senator, governor, if you want to tell your people under you that they are not to notify us, especially when he's a criminal and he's repetitively, and he commits a crime, murder, or a terrorist act, you will also be charged for that because you're aiding and abetting a known criminal. That's quite simple. That's already being implemented in our court system. So it's upon the states, it's your choice. How, if you want to deviate from the established protocol things, fine. But we're also going to treat you as such. Meaning, your system has got a bunch of holes in it and people are dying because of it, okay, we're also going to put you in jail as well. Because that is known as aiding and abetting a known criminal. Okay, quite simple. I mean, I would think that would be more effective than saying, you're no longer get $1 billion worth of federal money. I would do that up on top of that. Make a message, if nothing else, the significance, importance of holding to the structure that has been laid down, that has proven itself to be effective. Not for just one person. or that person, or that person, or that person, that person, for all people. So when we go to sleep at night, we feel at least somewhat safe. We can wake up in the morning and say, wow, I got another awesome day today. Versus waking up and say, well, I wonder if I'm going to get shot today. Oh my God. Should I wear a bulletproof vest today? You know, I mean, I've been in prison. I know exactly what it feels like for 7 fucking years, looking over your shoulder all the time, because any inmate, especially the ones that are doing lifetime, they don't care if they kill another person. And I only got a year before I get out the door. They'll kill me in a heartbeat. What? They're going to get another life sentence? Okay, add it to the 6 they already have. I know what it's like to look over your shoulder. And it's totally unfair to the rest of the 227 million Americans that done it by the book, by the rules, by the structure, and you want to slap them in the goddamn face, and you want to be kind to this individual that is here illegal and committing crimes. Not to mention he's murdered someone. No, pardon my French, but fuck you. You don't put Americans' lives in jeopardy. And if I was the president, you would have that choice. Not only would he be charged in a court of law of murder, but the one who would put that order out. We don't notify the federal government of hazards. You would also be indicted second-degree murder. And you would lose your position in our government because you do not represent the safety of our government. So you look after your people, we look after you. And it's set up so everyone's looking after each other. And when something's out of place, we have to fix it. Otherwise, like I just explained with ISIS or Taliban or whoever other group, there could be a group out there we don't even know about yet. They even put a name to themselves. They're dressing up like Mexicans and bringing all the C4 and the AK-47s so they can just hit many cities all at once, deplete all the resources, and there's not enough officers. And that's why, in terms of the right to bear arms, if you have one bad guy, you should at minimum have 100 good citizens, 100 for every one. Because you figure if he can kill 100 people in no time flat, you need a 100-to-1 ratio. The best is 1,000-to-1 ratio. It means you got good Samaritans, they've gone through the laws, they've done the training, they got a firearm, and it's sitting on their hip. And the only reason is for self-defense or to stop something like that, like a runaway gunman. And that's why just the gun itself is symbolism for self-preservation. Because our true enemy, is extinction energy. So if you represent forever life, then what, for every action there's a reaction, what represents extinction? Extinction is real, just like you and me. It has a thinking ability, it has a personality, and it affects of the living in a far different way than you will affect energy. Essentially the unseen. So it affects people's thoughts, the way they think, the reasoning. There's a multitude of things of how extinction energy is always at our coattail, trying to win. Because when we become bones next to T-Rex in a museum, all we have proven is that we are an extinctionist. So yeah, it really upsets me. It really upsets me. I have humanity. I understand why some people want to come to the United States and the freedoms and liberties because of what their country is going through. But it's also it's a barn door to criminal activity. Like I explained with shoplifting, is give a man an inch, he'll take a mile. And I guarantee you, a criminal, he's not only going to take the mile, but he wants 10 miles. He wants 100 miles, especially if he can keep getting away with it. That's the things that we have to know. It's not saying that I'm trying to stop all criminals. But that's why we have certain systems in place. It's not saying criminals stop being a criminal. It's not saying good Samaritan stop being a Samaritan. It's like if we don't do it in a systematic way, you're going to be on the fastest track to extinction that you've ever seen in your entire existence. So, San Francisco, fuck you. There's 227 million Americans that you're slapping right in the goddamn face. And you're basically saying you're penalizing them for doing it the right way. And if I was the president, and you've done that habitually many times with this illegal immigrant here who's committed the crimes, the person who's in charge of that county or whatever, he's also indicted for second-degree murder. You have that choice. It's either you communicate and work with us, or we just charge you with aiding and abetting a known criminal. Quite simple. So you have that choice. If you think your system works better than what we have established, we're still going to hold you accountable. So that's my word on this sanctuary. Yeah, I would say if states don't want to work with the government, they want to knock out that communications. As we learned in World War I and World War II and Japan and everything, you knock out their communications, you paralyze them. So that's essentially what they're doing with the U.S. government. They're paralyzing the government. So when these terrorist attacks break out and these things happen, me as being the president, then I look like the asshole. Like I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what's going on in my government, in my nation. It makes me look like an asshole. You're not going to make me look like an asshole. I know why we have certain structures in our government and why they work. They may not be perfect, but they're not intended to be perfect. They're intended to be effective for self-preservation of man, for all walks of life. Now, you may not understand my perspective, how I see everyone as 50 shades of brown. It's the same as I don't understand why you think you are the black race and the white race and the brown race. We are all of the human race, and we are identified by our bones. So if he was in a museum, you would say, oh, that's a T-Rex. Well, how do you know? I recognize his bones. And you say, well, that's a human being, the human race. Because you recognize the bones. So there's a bigger issue at hand here. If we don't get this under control, it's not going to matter what borders we have. It's going to end up happening. You're going to have a massive outbreak of terrorism. And these people are willing to blow themselves up. If that's not dedication, I don't know what is. It's one of the nastiest in terms of warfare. We have our Marines. We got an excellent military. But if I was asked a Marine and say, here, strap this bomb on you and go over there and blow yourself up, that Marine or that Army or Air Force might say, fuck that. I ain't doing that. I'm here. I can kill someone, but I ain't going to blow my ass up. So you got some really vicious individual, hardcore, I guess you can call